Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Chris Alicia, aka Chris, and today we are doing a little series I'm gonna call Manga Monday. It could be Anime Monday, depending on what I'm talking about that day, but today it's Manga Monday. And in celebration of Pride, I wanted to talk about recent manga that I read called Our Dreams at Dusk, or Shime Nami Tasugare by Yuki Kamatani. I read this last month and still thinking about it, still very, very obsessed with it. So I wanted to share it here with you because I haven't seen anyone really talking about this. This randomly came up as a suggestion on my story graph for a challenge I was doing. And then I read it and I was just like, how have I never heard about this before? I'm obsessed. Like, this is so good. So a little bit about this series. It's classified as seinen, which is targeted towards young adult men, and it follows Kaname Tasuku, who is a gay teenager who ends up meeting other LGBTQIA plus people at a drop-in center that he literally stumbles across after being involuntarily outed at his high school. So the completed series contains 4 volumes. This one, and this one, and this one, and this one. They're all gorgeous covers. You can't tell me they're not. And it was originally serialized in Shogakukan's Hibana magazine from 2015 to 2017. Before I delve into the characters, a little bit more of their storylines, kind of what they talk about. There is some sensitive subject matter, like right out the gate. I just mentioned that he was outed at school. So basically we enter the story with him contemplating jumping after one of his classmates finds gay porn on his phone, and it becomes obviously a really big thing. So this is just some warnings of some suicide ideation. There is homophobia, transphobia, lesbophobia, all of the above. What I really appreciate about the book is that yes, there are these major areas of darkness, but overall the tone is more geared towards kind of self-acceptance, learning about yourself, learning about others, and building that community when you thought you were alone. So I didn't realize it was centered. It's so majestic. But let's talk a little bit about the characters. So I already talked about Kaname. This is our main protagonist. He identifies as gay. He's very much so struggling with this because he's not fully in understanding of his sexuality or what it means. He's also never really interacted with anyone else of different sexualities, gender identities. So our boy has a lot to learn, but luckily he stumbles upon a great place because he gets to meet people of all different types of everything. So our next character that we're introduced to is this lovely person in the back. You can kind of see him. We don't learn their name ever. Calls them someone's son, and they're just like this mystical, mysterious being. Their line is basically like, you can tell me anything, but I'm not gonna listen. So it's just kind of like, you can vent to me, and it stays here because it's not my business, which you learn is very therapeutic for a lot of people. They actually own the drop-in center. You learn about the people that kind of build the drop-in center, but we later find out that they identify as asexual and they don't subscribe to gender really. They're kind of everyone all at once, which is super interesting. You'll see that it's classified as like some magical realism, and they're the reason it's classified as magical realism because they're just like this godlike figure. And the next person we meet is Daichi. She works with a non-profit organization whose mission is to basically rehabilitate, revamp, repurpose abandoned homes. So that's kind of how she meets someone's son. There's like the space and they're just like, yeah, make it into a drop-in center or create the space. You can do whatever you want with it. So this drop-in center ends up becoming like this hub for queer people to kind of come in and out. Daichi is a lesbian and she's actually fairly out about it, which is super duper dope to see, and I think it's really dope for our main character to see also. Next we have Misura Shuji, and they're actually both of these people. So Misura is a 6th grader who at the drop-in center, they like to wear dresses, they like to wear wigs, they like to present very woman, very feminine. So throughout the volumes, you kind of see them trying to figure out their gender identity and whether or not they identify as a boy who just likes dressing up in women's clothing every now and then, or if they actually do identify as a woman. So getting a lot of insight on some gender exploration and expression, especially as a young person. Next, we have my absolute favorite person who is not on a cover, which is super disrespectful, but it's Utsumi. Look at his pretty little face. I love him. He's so wholesome. I adore this man. He also works with Daichi in rehabilitating and restoring these vacant homes. And we also end up learning that he is a trans man. And the way we learn that is so interesting. And I think really ends up delving into the transphobia piece and leads to some really interesting conversations of just because someone's like super duper nice to you and is, you know, trying to say all the right things and is presenting very positively to you doesn't mean that they're actually like being respectful of you and your identity, or honestly just you as a person. But the last person of our drop-in center crew is Chaiko, which is, oh, look at this, look at that happy man, look at how happy he is, look at that joy. But he works in the drop-in center and he is an elderly gay man. We get to learn more about his life and his partner, and the way I just want to hold both of them so deeply, like forever and ever. And I just want nothing but their happiness. And like, if you don't believe in love, you believe in love after seeing them interact. I promise you, they're just perfect. But last but not least, in terms of characters, we also have Tsubaki Toma, which is Kaname's crush. I appreciate that the story is not a romance. Like, that is not the purpose of it. We just know that Kaname has a crush on this guy. He's usually nice to him. Like, he's a volleyball player, so he's like Mr. Popular, but like he's still nice to Kaname. But his dad finances the drop-in center. That could be a lie. I could be lying right now. But his dad like frequents the drop-in center, or like his dad funds the nonprofit in some capacity, but his dad is also like a massive homophobe while being nice to everyone's face. And we don't love that. But there can be some suggestion that he is questioning his sexuality. So I thought I would mention him for that. Again, it's not a romance, but I think that's also an important part to talk about because that Q stands for that too. That rhymed and that was unintentional. I'll stop. So that's our characters. That's a little bit about their stories. That is a little bit about the representation that this has. So what are my overall thoughts and what is my last ditch effort to convince you to read this? One, it's gorgeous. The art, gorgeous. You're not going to see anything, but like, here's a flip through. I don't know if this is doing anything for you. That's the last one, so sorry if you just got spoiled. I'll just go in reverse order. Here's the third one. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. If I can find my favorite panel, I'll show it to you, but actually no, I'm not going to. You're just going to see all of this. Here's art. There it goes. Look at that beauty. Anyway, art style, gorgeous. Storyline, gorgeous. The relationships that are built and the learning that takes place, also gorgeous, which I think is one of my favorite things about this. There's a line that I really like, and I'm gonna read it off a piece of paper that I wrote it on because I know myself and I'm not gonna memorize it. But it says, "It's not a bad thing to try and understand, but you can't act like you get it. It's okay not to get it." And I love this because I feel like it makes a point of like, you're not gonna know everything right away. Our main character is gay, but just because he's gay doesn't mean he understands or knows the lesbian experience or the trans experience or the bisexual experience or the intersex experience or the asexual experience. So it's like, just because you're all part of this community doesn't mean you all have the same experiences, doesn't mean you're automatically gonna know everything that this entails, because it's an ongoing learning process. You're basically following Kaname and his like journey to understanding what it means to be a part of this community and like what being gay means for him and what it's like to have this community of people who are there to support you and care about you and be authentically themselves around you, because he has never seen that or experienced that. So this kind of goes without saying, and you kind of got this from when I was like going over the characters. I loved the representation within this. I mainly read like shonen manga and like shoujo manga, which are very two different ends of the spectrum. One is like adventure all the time, high energy, yeah. And then the other one is very like romance and oh my gosh, I love you, and so angsty. And this is not me stereotyping, this is literally just the ones that I have read. You can feel free to prove me wrong. Honestly, leave some suggestions of anime in those genres that break out of that stereotype and I'll give them a read. I say this as I'm reading The Promised Neverland, that is like very shonen, but kind of not shonen because we have like a girl as like the main character, which is already kind of deviating. And then I'm also reading Ao Haru Ride, which I feel like is probably very classic shoujo, but it's also like pretty fucking dark, which I fuck with. Anywho, back to this manga. The representation, love it. Here for it, living for it. And it's not just like the representation in like sexualities or identities, it's like across all of it. Like we have some characters that are out and comfortable, but we have them on the other end of the spectrum who are just like, I'm okay with just being out to the people I trust in my little bubble. Like I don't want to go out and about with that. We have characters who are as young as 10 or 11, trying to figure out their gender identity. You also have like an elderly couple who are so unapologetically in love, but there's also a lot of stuff happening in their lives and they have to keep it low key because families can still be a bitch sometimes. Like it's across such a spectrum of everything. I love the representation. It makes me so happy. I love that it shows the process of learning. We have Kaname stumbling his way through learning everything. You have him being like super optimistic and positive and just like, yeah, everything's great in the world. If you're just yourself, don't worry about it. But then it's like, that's not always the case. That's not always safe. And that's not okay. But that's my reality. So stop trying to force this positivity and optimism on me because that's not what I need right now. But on the other hand, you have it showcasing that like if you find the right people, if you build your community, you can still allow yourself that happiness and that freedom. And you can see like his progression throughout the series from like book 1 to the end of book 4. You get this a lot in Utsumi's storyline, but it's just the conversation to be had around like being mindful of what you say around children and how children internalize the things you say and the things that they hear and the actions, your body language, all of that. Because there's like this part where the nonprofit is doing something with children and there's this mom and her daughter, and the daughter was playing with something and the mom's like, oh no, use this instead. And it's like, I can't remember what it is, but it's like either like a hyper feminine color or a hyper feminine toy or something. And it's already like pushing down those stereotypes and gender norms at such a young age. And it's like part of his storyline where Utsumi's like, yo, be mindful of what you're saying because I'm an adult. I can handle all the crazy shit you're saying to me because like I've heard it. This is nothing new, but you have a kid. And from what I can see, she might not be what you want her to be. So like think about that now. Like I'm a stranger to you, I could never talk to you again and I'd be good, but this is your kid. So think about that. Think about how you want her relationship to be with you. Like think about what you're saying and how that's going to impact the way she trusts you, basically. But yes, that is an overview and kind of a review about Our Dreams at Dusk. Again, I highly recommend you read these bad boys. They are perfect if you want to get some more queer reading done during the month of June. They're perfect for if you just want to pick up a manga in a random September. They're good for any day of the week, any week of the month, any month of the year, at any time at all. Really love this. I want more people to be reading this. I want more people to be talking about it. And I think it actually does have some really, really great conversation starters for those that might not be as educated on queer topics or queer identities. So pick this up. You can buy it. I got this from my local library, which means if we live in the same area, it's in the library because I'm returning them right after I finish recording this. Thank you for joining me for the first episode of Manga Mondays. If you have any manga recommendations or any anime recommendations that you would either like me to read, just wish there was more attention on it, you just want to info dump about your favorite manga / anime, because like I get that too, drop it down below in the comment section. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. I want to do Manga Mondays / Anime Mondays like at least once a month. We'll see if that happens. Kind of depends on if you like this and if I like this. Cool. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.
A big mistake. Where the law? I shouldn't feel this open outside.